Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions, to see how we have to stand together. Jesus, will you help us to start every moment with that infinite love that's always available to help us? How precious can we get? Nothing's more precious than being helped by Jesus. I see that every day, like the gratitude just grows and grows. You know, and even when it feels uncomfortable, just the more we stand into it and say no, because I'm going to ask Jesus, do we need to be uncomfortable necessarily doing this or looking at our stuff, quote unquote? No, it's just, that's the play in consciousness. I said this, I was reading a quote that came out from Jesus, like the whole play of consciousness is to make waking up seem really difficult and unpleasant. So it feels really good. Jesus, will you show us any desire below our level of awareness to make any of this difficult so we can release it to a miracle right up front? And you get that answer of love, you know, that it's all for love. In every circumstance, and the fruit of that turning to him in every circumstance can hardly be spoken about, because we're turning to the truth of who we are in that. And so today, I went to call one of our little dogs, and I'm so grateful to Jesus. Oh my gosh, so much love came. And I could see him on the floor. He didn't move. That dog, you say one thing, because if he thinks Chow is there, that dog will move. And he just wasn't moving. And looked down, and his little face, oh my gosh, it was just puffy, and his little eyes were all puffy up. And I could see he had eaten something that he was allergic to or having a reaction to something. And so I picked him up, but I just kept asking Jesus, what? So much love came. Like I'm looking down at him, holding him, petting him, and the love that came, like so much love in a situation where you would think, you know, because I love those little dogs, you know, I can see it. And this is the same person, mind you. If you saw that little blog post, the little Facebook post, like I didn't want anything to have to do with dogs. The Holy Spirit worked with them, you know, to the point. But to have this just be so, this love, it just kept coming. It just kept coming. It was like infinite love. And you see, that was just, when we turn to the Spirit in every circumstance, we see that there is only love, even in that moment with little Silencio. He hasn't learned what his name really is yet, because he hasn't figured out that Silencio, what that means in Spanish, obviously not yet. Oh, he's just so, but to have this just be in just total infinite love, you know, it was like the fulfillment of everything of God, you know, with that little, and have it delivered by a dog. You know, or whatever. It's because when we so fully follow, you know, because then otherwise we would get involved in the unreal, you know. Okay. Might have to tell the dog story again. You have to listen to it twice out there, you know. The infinite love of dog, G-O-D, backwards. She thinks she's going to have to jump back in. We're talking about forgiveness today in the Song of Prayer, so that's perfect. See, regardless of what's happening, whether we have Spanish translation, we just set the dial to infinite. What great training that was at Satmanti Sahaji. You just set yourself on infinite. Just bake there, set the oven. It'll bake the ego out because there's no space for it. To be so completely loved and carried by the Father. That's where we are. So I think they might have missed the little puppy story, and it feels in purpose to share it. And I'd mentioned, so I noticed that our little dog Silencio wasn't moving. Silencio means silence. A dog named Silence in Spanish. Like I said, he hadn't learned his name yet. I can tell you that for sure. He's better. He's just adorable. Oh my gosh, those little puppies are adorable. And he wasn't moving, so I went over and I saw that he was going into an anaphylactic reaction, which is just a reaction to something that he ate in form. It's the way it appears in form. And these things are just the test. Are we going to follow the Spirit in every circumstance? And I could see that there was a feeling, but it's not personal. See, it's not personal, these things that rise up. And the question are we going to follow that? Are we going to turn inward and just go to Jesus for everything? So the only thing to do is like go to Jesus. So if he said, no, you're not taking him to the vet, I just follow. But Jesus is practical. We couldn't get a taxi at first. Couldn't get the vet's out of town, but you just stay with Jesus. You see, that's all it is. Because we could start getting in the kerfuffle. Oh, my dog's going to die, and I could feel some of that rise up, but just stay with Jesus. And then this love came that's beyond description. Just love. It was just pouring and pouring. And what I see that's so profound to give is the call for love, and the love's answer through the clearing of desires. They become simultaneous. Do you see? And then it's giving and receiving. It's love calling to itself and continually answering and answering. The only answer there is love. It can only celebrate itself. So here in the middle, looking down at Silencio, his little puffy face and his little puffy red eyes, and can hardly open his mouth. Infinite love, like infinite, like love, like it's here. It's here. Just pouring out infinitely. That's the fruit. That's the fruit of following the voice for God. And seeing that love is total and complete and so full, like to be used by Spirit in so much fullness, like, and every now and then there's like a little grumble, but you recognize it. What's grumbling? Because then the love just erases that off the board. And also, here's the other thing too, because I could see in the play of consciousness with something like that, there would be some kind of guilt, but you go to Jesus. Jesus, did I miss a prompt? No, fine, good. Everything's good. This is a get out of jail free card here, a self-imposed jail card. Just turn it to him. We just reach out like, Jesus, here it is. And the willingness to look. Is this true? Is this true? Is this true? Is this true? And you're going to wonder. That's the experience here. It would come up in consciousness. All right, how many times am I going to have to do this? But until we lock down on willingness to look until he says you're done, just use every bit of determination not to see God and turn that into seeing God, that God is here, and to expect God. Expect God. So every time we turn to Jesus, we expect God. Do you see? We expect it. And we can't, the interpretive function in consciousness, turn that switch off. Ask Jesus, Jesus, do I need an interpretive function in consciousness to interpret anything? Ask him. Do I need it for one thing? No, because it's part of the dreaming and you don't need to dream. You can ask him. We can all hear him here equally when we decide we want to. So Jesus, we're here, we're coming. Once again today, see, because it begins now. God bless you, Lisa Fair, wherever you are. I'm just sending you, what a symbol in the mind of devotion, like, you know, and you start seeing those mighties icing your cake. They're all standing on the outside of the cake. You know, you used to have the wedding party on the top, but now you have all the mighties who are symbols in the mind of dedication to truth, you know, and you see them standing there on the cake. And it's going to be the only cake you want to eat. The ones that are really in it. Anne said something so much good seeing today. And that is, she said, I can't have friends, or something like, I can't have friends. And forget this wrong. You'll have to come on and just correct me. But basically seeing that the only thing that's valuable is mighty companions. That you can't have those kinds of horizontal relationships. Now, to ego, that's going to sound probably horrific. What about my friends? I've got to play bridge on Wednesday nights. Yeah. It's just that the old way of relating, all she's trying to communicate is that the old way of horizontal relating and wanting something to get something unsuccessfully, continually from our brother starts falling away. And then the deep listening to what our brother has to say as a symbol of the Christ within becomes, you know, we start just dropping in and paying real close attention to try to accept the gift that they're offering. And that's when we get wings and fly. Look at him. So that's when we get the wings. That's what but to be in service, like she's reminding me about Pollyanna. This is our function. Why that is such a good movie for learning about a natural function, because we're having this argument with Jesus, like, you know, if I follow the Spirit, it's going to be impractical and I'm going to have to do all this stuff and it's going to be so airy-fairy. Look, if that movie is on the ground as it comes with serving the Holy Spirit, I can't think of one that was just more present, serve Spirit consistently, just naturally, because she's in the natural state of just what's most helpful. In fact, I'm trying to think, I'll just ask Jesus. I don't have to think too much. And that was, she wasn't thinking much either. She's just in service. You know, when we think, we just get too involved in the kerfuffle. But he told me there's not a self-image. You just watch. And he said right out of the gate, see how there's no self-image here. You know, she didn't have really a getting mechanism. She's just in the joy and you just watch it. And that is about as practical as the movie you can watch, is just being in the service. And in the moment of the service, she wasn't trying to get something. She wasn't trying to influence anything. And, you know, she brought the whole place down, basically. And that's our function. Not as a motivating, she didn't have a motivation. She wasn't she wasn't trying to do anything. She was just being. It's just really a holy movie, very holy. So that's what all our function is to be that primordial innocence Jesus was talking about. I like that because he really helps me use all these words that were used for concepts, and he retranslate them to the holy meaning of God, just exactly like he promised. Like he took honesty and he showed me honesty of God. Let me show you what real honesty is. You know, even what salvation is. There's a concept about salvation. We think salvation is the ego, you know, so he has to, okay, let me get in there. Let me unwind you from that idea. But you'll start to notice how one single word arises and the world just pops right out. A whole, you know, you'll see it in the plane consciousness, two beings, and they're going to argue about if someone said this word or that word, or this word means this. No, this word means that. So all we're doing here is we're walking into this session together and seeing what's sane. And that's the light of divine being, the only thing we share, but it's everything we share. Infinite light. God's country. God's holy country is the only thing we can share. So that's why when we join, he's saying, start with light. That's a reminder. Let's start with what we are before we start foisting ideas on our brother. We have to go empty-handed to our brother. Yes, he says yes. Without an idea of anything. And then listen. So we start with a prayer, which is having no idea about anything, because we are everything. We don't have to have any ideas. So let's look at forgiveness. Oh my gosh, more song of prayer, Jesus. Oh my gosh, we love it. Okay. This is the song of prayer is just the song of the heart, singing and singing and singing and singing. Infinite love and gratitude to God, like to the unspeakable. When you get to unspeakable, it's hilarious. Like Eddie Murphy's thinking, oh my God, when I run out of words and no leaves on the tree, I'm going to die. Yes, the idea we have of ourselves is going to die because it cannot be sustained without thought. And thought's not natural to us. So we keep throwing up thoughts like balloons and trying to keep them in the air. And it's really like juggling bricks. To find ourselves in the bricks of consciousness, somewhere in the asteroid belt. I've got to be in here. It's like forgiveness. Introduction. Forgiveness offers wings to prayer. So let's start like we don't even know, like Jesus, I don't know what forgiveness is, because that will even be a concept. And remember, it's the last concept to go. Because notice that the light doesn't need forgiveness. The light just is. It's not, it doesn't hold a grievance. See, it doesn't have a bunch of hooks in it where it can hang grievances. You know, as soon as we say, you're pressing my buttons, make sure we look down and see whose finger's on the button. See, there's no buttons. But even that's a metaphor, and consciousness, when it says it, will make it feel like it has buttons. See how language works? You are pressing my button. See, causality. You did this. No, it's pure desire. Pure desire for an experience of the brother ripping heaven away. Ask Jesus. Let's ask him about this button pushing thing. So Jesus, when I feel like someone's pushing my button, Jesus said, that's so you won't see that you have no buttons. You don't have buttons. The consciousness will play and use these metaphors. Don't underestimate the power of how consciousness uses metaphors. You know, paint myself in a corner. You're going to feel like you're painted in a corner. I feel like there's a brick wall. You'll feel like there's a brick wall. I feel like I can't surmount this. You'll feel like you can't surmount it. That's how powerful thought is. It just constructed a wall out of nothing, out of thin air, and experiences it. And then we look under it. What's under it? Lack of forgiveness, not forgiving ourselves for miscreation. That's where, it's sort of like the kids, and I use that, he's saying, yeah, so I think I mentioned this before, like there are 7 kids and all piled in the back of this little green station wagon. And then you'd go, okay, don't cross this line right here, and then you'd, mom, I don't know how many times she had to hear her name on those trips. Because look, 7 kids, what are the permutations of 7 children fighting at any one moment? Well, desired experience for entertainment value, I guess. But anyway, but you know how you would go like, okay, don't cross over the line. Don't cross it. Mom, he's got his toe over the line. And that's what we're doing with Jesus, though, unfortunately. Don't let Jesus cross that line. You can go this far, Jesus, with forgiveness, but not all the way. That's what happens when we're picking and choosing where the miracles are. That's why chapter 20 is so good, because we can't pick, he's picked them for us. Chapter 20. Can't sidewind them. But as I mentioned this, so it's coming up again. Obviously, I need to see it. He's talking about it again. So consciousness will take it so far. I've really looked Jesus. And then there's like this little sticking point. The little sticking point is it's not taken all the way to freedom. It's taken all the way to, oh shit, I have to look again. Well, I have to look again. or it's still mad. There's still like anger about the grievance. See, that's still in dead land. We have to see that's still in dead land. Ooh. You haven't seen it all the way through, because if you look at the light doesn't have grievance pockets in it. There's no pockets. It doesn't have a special grievance rack that you can walk over and, but that consciousness does. That's how consciousness creates those little pockets, the hidden pockets, to keep the fantasy. Forgiveness offers wings to prayer to make its rising easy and its progress swift. To make prayer rise easily. The prayer of unity, the unity prayer, because it's the forgiveness is like the miracle. Think of it like a nonstop Old Faithful. This is love. It goes like this. And it just celebrates itself and it keeps going. Okay. And then we want to take a big old fat rubber stopper and try to plug up the Old Faithful. How is that going to feel? That's going to hurt. So every time you hurt, you can just think, I put a plug in Old Faithful. I tried to stop up Old Faithful with a big plug. Just for the fun of it too. Ask Jesus. Jesus, do I like trying to put a plug in Old Faithful just for the fun of it? For pleasure. And do I get pleasure from doing that? You say, I have to laugh at the ridiculousness of that kind of, he tells us we're all insane. It just takes a while before we admit it. But we get to the point of fully admitting how totally off the noodle we are to really block love. How we really think heaven is hell. Then we have to laugh and say, Jesus, you're right again. Okay, so without its strong support, it would be vain to try to rise above prayer's bottom step. See, just think of it. It's the wind beneath your wings. Forgiveness. It just lifts you up that ladder. And then your brother's giving you a hand up when you accept his help. Because he is the one that you will look with to see where you're denying forgiveness. And then you want everybody piled on the ladder because you know you can't go alone. As someone said, this is going to be one cram rocket ship and we're darn happy about it. We're darn happy about it. As many, go ahead and get them all in there. Because you can see it. Can I show that? Yeah, Jesus said yes. Because it's so spectacular. Okay, so you start with one brother in the circle. Oh, you're going to go to bliss. And then you think of them join with you in light. Okay, pick anyone. He said, but Jesus is giving me a little coaching on this. Do not be selective. Well, it's okay to join with this one, but I'm not joining. Okay. And then add the light from another brother in. And then add the light from another brother in. This is the drug of heaven right here. And add another brother in, the light in. And another brother. And another brother. Just keep adding it. And if you don't get drunk on heaven from that and just keep adding everybody in. And see how you feel when you see the light in everyone. That's God's version of crack cocaine. The good stuff, the real stuff, the sustainable stuff. So now we can contrast that to how really painful it is to try to want to kill our brother. But we have to see it. It's okay to see that you want to kill your brother. You have to make that acceptable because the ego is going to make that unacceptable. This is an interesting conversation, but it's in purpose. We have to see the thought of killing in the mind so we can recognize it for what it is. It's not killing any body. It's killing infinite light out of awareness. Forgiveness is prayer's ally, sister in the plan for your salvation. Both must come to hold you up and keep your feet secure, your purpose steadfast and unchangeable. Behold, the greatest help that God ordained to be with you until you reach to him. Illusions in will come with this. Unlike the timeless nature of its sister prayer, forgiveness has an end. But it points to prayer. Forgiveness always points to infinite because it's the release of the dive into the bubble. So it's always pointing out to light. Miracles point to light. It's the natural release of that cork in the old faithful. Your purpose steadfast and unchangeable. Behold, the greatest help that God ordained to be with you until you reach to him. Illusions in will come with this. Unlike the timeless nature of its sister prayer, forgiveness has an end, for it becomes unneeded when the rising up is done. So you can just ask him, Jesus, do I still have a need for forgiveness? And he'll tell you. So you go with him until he tells you that you don't need forgiveness anymore. It just falls away because it's no longer needed. The light doesn't need forgiveness. But those in the play of consciousness that want to deny themselves will need it. But he's showing us we don't know where we need forgiveness. Is that true? Yes. Says you don't know where you need forgiveness even. So that's why you must rely on me to show you where you need forgiveness. Otherwise, we're just dabbling around in the dream. Behold, the greatest help that God ordained to be with you until you reach to him. Illusions in will come with this. Unlike the timeless nature of sister prayer, forgiveness has an end, for it becomes unneeded when the rising up is done. Yet now it has a purpose beyond which you cannot go, nor have you a need to. Accomplish this and you have been redeemed. Accomplish this and you have been transformed. Accomplish this and you will save the world. So rather than the ego's accomplishments, he gives us a new form of accomplishment, forgiveness, which is really a falling away, but within the ego thought system, it can't really understand the falling away, be too fearful. We want to hang on. You'll see that, you know, I'm really trying to get a grip on this. Even the language that's used within consciousness is an out picturing. I want to get a hold of this. I got to understand this. I got to, you know. But that is an idea that actually denies that what we are doesn't have a handle. It doesn't even have love handles to hang on to. It's just light. Forgiveness of yourself. Oh, Jesus, boy, this is a good one to look at. Thank you very much. No gift of heaven has been more misunderstood than has forgiveness. It has, in fact, become a scourge, a curse where it was meant to bless, a cruel mockery of grace, a parody upon the holy peace of God. Therefore, it looks good to listen. Look at that deeply. Yet those who have not yet chosen to begin the steps of prayer cannot but use it thus. Forgiveness's kindness is obscure at first, because salvation is not understood nor truly sought for. Oh, what a great point, Jesus. Let's go deep with that one. The ego is not going to view forgiveness as kind. Ask Jesus. Jesus, is the ego going to view forgiveness as kind? Not so much. So it's not forgiveness that hurts. Forgiveness is merciful. The pain and the unmercy is not forgiving quickly. That's where we're beating the tar out of ourselves, hanging on to guilt. See, that's the way we hang on to guilt, not accepting a fast correction. You can ask them, am I hanging on to guilt when I don't? Yes, when I don't accept the correction quickly. A parody upon the holy peace of God. Yet those who have not yet chosen to begin the steps of prayer cannot but use it thus. Forgiveness's kindness is obscure at first because salvation is not understood nor truly sought for. Okay, we might as well, let's be with that. I'm talking to him about there's like a turning point where salvation truly is sought for. There's salvation dabbling, which is going to hurt. And it's going to hurt. That's all you can say about it. It's just going to hurt. You know, it's because we're infinite beings. It is either all in, and I'm asking if I can use that term because I've used it before. It balls to the wall, but there's nothing better in the English language that I know of to full on commitment to God and his kingdom. No sideways, no tolerance of sideways motions. And follow. So we think, okay, I'm really going for salvation, but we have to be honest with Jesus just to let him show us where we're, you know, we kind of got the toe in the pool. Okay, maybe we went up to our knee, but there's a lot hanging out of the pool. There's a lot that's protected. It's not all in. This doesn't sound good to the ego. It's not going to like it. But it is an all in or all. We're either infinite or we're not. I mean, it's really that simple. We're either all in to be infinite or we got our toe out in hell. And a little toe in hell is still all hell. There isn't partial hell. There's just 100% hell, 100% hell, and then pretending like we're okay. Pretending like these forms of hell are okay to deny ourselves supreme happiness. What was meant to heal is used to hurt because forgiveness is not wanted. That's what he's showing us in these little excursions into the basement of the subconscious mind. He is showing us where forgiveness is not wanted. He's not denying us a miracle. You know, Jesus, can I have a miracle? It's really, Jesus, am I willing to accept a miracle? But it's first we let him totally be so controlling miracles. He's telling us when we can have one because we're so irresponsible with miracles. The whole play of consciousness is to deny every miracle that could ever appear. So we need his help. What was meant to heal is used to hurt because forgiveness is not wanted. So it's kind of like we abort before we go all the way through. That's the ego's plan. Before we go all the way to what he means by forgiveness, which is complete and utter release of the denial, complete. Which, in order to release a denial completely, it's got to go all the way to seeing that you cannot achieve heaven through that denial, because we believe we can. Jesus is anywhere in my mind, and just ask him when you're going through the desires, do I believe I can get heaven from this desire? And that will really start telling the story when we're really willing to listen to him at that level of honesty. Guilt becomes salvation, and the remedy appears to be a terrible alternative to life. Jesus, do I believe guilt is salvation? Might as well hear it from him. Is there anywhere in my mind where I think that guilt is salvation? And if there is, we just say, Jesus, I need help. I think guilt is salvation. The only way the ego can survive is the belief that guilt is salvation, that guilt is a path to heaven, that we can get love from guilt. Forgiveness to destroy will therefore suit the purpose of the world far better than its true objective. And the whole honest means by which this goal is reached. Forgiveness to destroy will overlook no sin, no crime, no guilt that it can seek and find and love. Dear to its heart is error, and mistakes loom large and grow and swell within its sight. It carefully picks out all the evil things and overlooks the loving as a plague, a hateful thing of danger and of death. Forgiveness to destroy is death. And this it sees in all it looks upon and hates. God's mercy has become a twisted knife that would destroy the Holy Son he loves. We have to see that play in consciousness. You can ask Jesus, do I need to see that directly? Because it's the flip. See, the ego's not going to want to look at that directly. So tomorrow, of course, because we're going in the rocket ship and we're going to look at everything, because it becomes a relief when you just see the twitch is just something that needs to be released to the miracle. So we just go ahead and release it instead of like hanging on to like all the grievances. So tomorrow we're going to spend a lot more time on this because it's just so packed full right here. Forgiveness to destroy. And see if Jesus can reveal to us any places in the subconscious mind where we're keeping forgiveness to destroy. He says, anytime you don't go all the way to totally clear it, you're in forgiveness to destroy, and that's where the repeat, it sets the cycle again, that cycle of repeat of the plane consciousness. Okay, Jesus, so we'll come back with this. In the interim, oh, somebody's asking what happened with Silencio. Well, he ate something and had a little allergic reaction. So he's looking like a little marshmallow dog because he poofed. So we took him to the vet and he's staying overnight, our little boo-boo. And we thank him for all the love that he showed us, that love's here in every circumstance, even with our little dog all puffed up. But even, Lori's been taking care of him, and she could tell, we all could hear, at least I don't know if I talked about it to everyone, but you could see somehow that was just helpful for the whole in a way I can't even explain. Well, first of all, Jesus says it was, so I trust him. But yeah, we trust him. All is cared for. So much love. So we're going to go and get ready for the movie that we're going to start in about 20 minutes or so. Yeah, what number did we put out for the movie? Put 403 link out for the movie? Yes, I think. It's out on the 403 link. So it's on the 403 link. And can somebody, I don't know if no one can put it out on the chat. Let's see. It's out on our website. If you just, or it's out on, not the website, but it's out on our Facebook page. It's posted. Dyra's posted. She's posted in the WhatsApp group. I recognize pretty much everybody. Zena, Margaret. Yeah, pretty much everybody's on the group. And I think Marlene, I think you're on the WhatsApp group, maybe? Yes, good. So everybody's got the link. We send you big hugs and we'll see you real shortly here.
Thank you.
Yeah, we love you.
Yeah.
There it is. And Melissa comes through with the link right in the chat. Okay. I'm just going to leave. I'm going to stop the video and leave it up for a moment so you can get the chat, the little number. And then we'll see you in a few minutes.